G sus chord, very popular in the church nowadays. So today we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, the Christian music world, okay? And personally, I believe in a God and a creator, but I didn't grow up in church. Yet somehow 15 to 20% of my income is made probably recording Christian music here at my studio or at different studios south of town. It's where most of the Christian recording clique tends to be, is like Brentwood, Franklin, south of Nashville. But I grew up listening to Motorhead, watching my dad change the oil on his motorcycle, and then would walk through the backyard, open the kitchen door. My mom would be throwing down to Dre and Snoop while cooking backstrap that my dad shot, out in the woods. So a very strange house, right? Like a rocker family, listen to hip hop and blues and rock and everything else. But I didn't grow up listening to Christian music at all. Completely not on my radar. Never heard of Hillsong, We the Kingdom, Casting Crowns. No idea who any of those bands were growing up. And the only band I did know was Stryper because my dad was like a hair metal guy. Fast forward 10 years, I moved to Nashville, and my second week in town, I'm getting on a tour bus, and every single person in this band comes out of the Southern gospel world. Most of them are studio musicians. And so we all become friends. They pull me in on different sessions, and next thing you know, I'm friends with their friends and their friends' friends, and I'm kind of in this studio Christian music clique, playing on CCM music, like very contemporary, wall of sound, stacked out guitar stuff, and then also doing Southern gospel records, which I had no idea what that was. No clue that it was even a genre. No idea. And I think the reason I got called for a lot of that stuff is because I was playing fresh ideas just out of pure ignorance because I didn't grow up hearing it. And so I was like, I don't know, it has this cool kind of Pentecostal driving groove to it. I'm going to play like Skinner licks on this. And they liked it because it was something different. So I somehow ended up in those cliques. I'm thankful that I did because it made me a better musician. When I first got here, and was like kind of testing the waters and figuring out what I was going to do in Nashville. And it was great income as well. And like I said, to this day, 10 to 15% of my income is probably made recording Christian music. But I still feel like I'm one step removed or 2 or 3 steps removed, kind of looking in because I just didn't grow up in that world. And the good and the bad that comes with that world, I feel slightly disconnected from it. And I think that's a good thing sometimes. Let's get into it. Let's get into the dirt, because I know a lot of people in the comments are going to tear this video apart and be like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But this is just what I've picked up from talking to my friends that have came through this world, seen the ups and downs of it, the things they've had to deal with, and just getting it all kind of secondhand. So none of this is firsthand. I've never had anything, done to me personally in a negative way whatsoever playing on any of this. And that's why I feel like I can do this video. It's because a lot of my friends that, that I'm getting this information from, that I hear and I pick up on things just being on the bus or sitting in the, in the break room, drinking coffee with these guys on a session and hearing their stories and what they talk about. There's some really tough things they've had to deal with, and they can't talk about it because they're so still wrapped up in that community that, it would cause issues with their family, their church community, which is a giant part of a lot of their lives still. And they just can't just come out and say these things because it's tricky, but these are like real issues that shouldn't be issues and don't need to be issues. So let's talk about them. Before I get into some of the bad, I want to say that the good far outweighs the bad in this community, right? There's a lot of incredible Christians out there that really walk the walk and talk the talk, that do so much amazing work behind the scenes, and it's very low key and nobody talks about the good things they're doing because they don't advertise it. But all you hear about is the bad stuff when something blows up or there's some crazy drama. So I want to make that a very important point, but we're going to talk about some of the dirt because I think, if you talk about it, maybe put it out there a little bit, hopefully something might change. So my friends are scared to talk about this stuff. And the reason they're scared to talk about this is because they're very wrapped up in that community still. And so say they were to come out and say some of the things I'm getting ready to say, they could potentially be completely shunned by their community and, kind of viewed as outcast. And say they're an employee of a church, it could like drastically affect their income and their livelihood and how they support their family. Thankfully, I'm in a position to where I'm 2 or 3 steps removed from that, and no church is directly paying me for anything. And most of it is producers that have, left the Christian world and moved over to secular and hired me to play on projects that they do. They're still kind of have their feet in that world a little bit. I'm just going to throw it out there. We'll see how it goes. The one I see the most common is that people that come out of the Christian world are scared to death. They're petrified they're going to make a mistake or somebody's going to see them with a beer or something crazy like that. Because, say that they do something that doesn't align with the views of their community or their church, and they make a mistake. This blows up, they repent or whatever, and the good Lord forgives them. Their community says they might forgive them, but they really don't. They'll casually not get the call back for the tour next year, or might get kicked out of the music program there or something, or get demoted from their position in the church, something like that might affect their income and their livelihood for their family. And so they're petrified about this. And I hate that for them because some of them are great people, and everybody makes mistakes. They're human, right? So first of all, to hell with that. Second of all, let he cast the first stone, right? Everybody's made mistakes. Lord knows I've made a ton of mistakes. I just didn't come out of a world to where there's no coming back from it, thankfully. And I hate that it's like that for some people. And I wish it wasn't, and I don't know what to do to fix it. There'd have to be probably like some major shift within that community. But I see it like really troubling some of my friends that they're just scared to have a beer when they go out to dinner. And because somebody might see them because we're in that part of town where their church is close to or something. It's crazy. But number 2 is hypocrisy. And there is a ton of that. And I've seen a lot of that, just like I said, just being a fly on the wall, listening to my friends and colleagues talk about things. The preacher at some church, had an affair with Jonathan next door. And now there's this dark cloud over the entire church that's weighing on the music program or just the church in general. And this just bogs everything down. And now there's this, like I said, nobody wants this negative cloud over them. Try to make music from a state of stress. It doesn't work. Everybody plays better when they're happy and relaxed. Good luck recording music with musicians who are like stressed for their livelihood and fighting for their lives, right? There's a certain kind of thing you can channel into something creative like that probably. But for the most part, if I'm producing something or if I'm working on a project, I want everybody to be as relaxed and happy as possible, not have some huge component of their life and potential upheaval at any given time because there's some hypocritical figure doing something crazy. It's nuts. But on to number 3. Number 3 would be control. And I had a buddy that worked for a mega church, like one of the biggest churches in the world. And he's telling me about it, and it's really interesting. He said it was his personal Vietnam, which is funny. But he said he went down to this church to work there. I think he was there for a year. He said he was there for a decade 1 year. That's another quote from him, which I thought was pretty good. But he said, they do this amazing work because they're bringing in so much money. They're pulling in millions and millions and millions of dollars, and they're giving it to charities and helping communities and doing all this stuff. But everybody within that actual church and the employees of the church are getting subtly abused the entire time. And it's a control technique. They're basically weaponizing God and serving the Lord against the employees and making them work these crazy hours for little pay and not really treating them right. And just crazy stuff too. Like they're not arranging marriages, but they would want you to marry somebody within the church that's tied into something politically within the church. So now you're part of that and you're pulled in. That way you keep your mouth shut. And that way anything bad that happens doesn't necessarily get out there to the public because you're in the family now. And just crazy things like that. And I think there needs to be a Netflix documentary on this place. And I'm not going to name any names on this stuff, obviously, but it's just pretty crazy stuff that's happened. And like I said, good luck doing something meaningful in music and doing something that's like truly magical and amazing on your instrument if you're in a point in your life where you're dealing with that kind of issue. I mean, that is a giant weight to carry, right? Like, okay, I'm here in this super tight-knit community. They're literally wanting me to marry into this church family, basically. And it's so hard to get away from it because this is my livelihood. I moved here for this. All my friends are here now. If I go back to wherever I'm from, I have to start over from scratch at zero. And that's so intimidating for so many people. And it's a tough thing. But those are the big 3 I see. And there's 2 other smaller observations I made that are a little less, morally tied into it. And that'd be there's always musical emergencies, it seems like. And I don't see this in like country music world or pop music for the most part. It seems like it's always like the Christian music world. It's, hey, we need these songs in a week. We got to book a studio, find 5 top shelf musicians that can handle this stuff, do pre-production, scratch vocals, everything, go to tracking, do that. We're going to need the mix done in a week as well. So in 2 weeks, we need this project done start to finish. That's not how music works. You can, but it's tough and it's hard and you're going to be pushing people beyond where they're comfortable once again. And like I've said 3 times now, right? People generally don't play well when they're stressed. I generally try to give myself enough of a time frame to like operate comfortably within that, especially if I'm hiring other people to be respectful of their schedules. I don't see that a lot in the Christian world. And number 5 would be probably the financial aspect of it. On the Christian side of things, it seems like they're either incredibly generous and just really take great care of the musicians around them and the producer and the engineers and everybody and like really, really take care of their people. Or there's some weird way of doing business and they will weaponize your own kindness against you sometimes because it's a Christian thing and it's weird. I thankfully haven't had to deal with that too much because usually the producers that I'm working with have to deal with that. And so I get paid regardless. The producer's going to pay me because I'm working for the producer. But I've seen my friends that are producing have trouble getting money from clients on things when they've, overextended themselves a lot and covered everybody else out of their own pocket. I've seen that. That's kind of another little bit of a downside to it. So those are the 5. 3 are pretty bad. The last 2 are not good, obviously, but not as morally tied into some of the hypocrisy around it. So enough of the negative stuff. Let's get into the good things. So hopefully you guys are still here with me on this video. And if I'm leaving some stuff off, please throw it down in the comments. like I said, I'm not from this world, and this is an outsider looking in. I'm sure there's people that can give so much better perspective than what I'm talking about right now. So throw it down there in the comments section. Let me know if I'm leaving something out, or tell me if I'm completely wrong. But regardless, thank you guys for hanging out this far. So now let's talk about some more positive aspects of the Christian music community. And this is what I wanted to talk about in the first place anyway, because nobody ever talks about the good stuff. Everybody always just focuses on the bad stuff because it's more fun to talk about for some reason. But one thing I said there is I said Christian music community, and that's what it is. It really is a community. And the clique and circles that I'm in are really, really great people. I work for a handful of people that are just absolutely wonderful clients and people to work for and work with. Like last Saturday, for example, I had a session here in town. It was a tracking session. And we all got together and we recorded a song called Praise the Words for a producer named Tommy. He's a great cat. And Tommy also is a monster chef. And so instead of just like paying us our regular rate and going home and doing our own thing for the week, Tommy asked if we wanted to like bring our wives. And I did. I brought my wife with me, and he cooked this amazing meal for us afterwards and paid us all double scale on it. So not only did we get paid to work, he was like, hey, it's a Saturday. Appreciate you guys coming up here on a weekend. Here's double pay. And here's a ridiculous, meal with smoked prime rib and baked ziti and homemade cheesecake and everything. And everybody had like a family dinner there on a Saturday afternoon. It was like a really cool thing. And you're not going to get that playing on most country records. It just doesn't really happen. And another great story is I was on a session a few months ago, and I'm not going to say who the band was because they won't want me to say this because this is how they operate, but they're really, really good people. And the refrigerator was broke in the studio. They were like, hey, I'm going to step out and run an errand for a minute. They come back, and the producer's like, hey, is everything cool? They're like, oh, it's all cool now. And we walk in the kitchen, and they replaced the refrigerator, at the studio there, because we had coolers set out with ice and water and soda and stuff in it. So they just went and got a brand new stainless steel refrigerator and put it in there. Didn't ask for nothing. Like, hey, just really appreciate you guys taking care of us on this project. And the producer does a lot of great things for them too. But I mean, that kind of reciprocation is hard to find. And just how thoughtful it was and selfless it was. And this is just how they operate. They do these really low key things for people and don't make a big deal out of it. And like I said, you're not going to get that in a lot of other, cliques and different communities in town. It's just go there, get paid, do your thing. And, that's not necessarily the case. You're always friends with these people, and these are your colleagues. And you might get together and, go to barbecues and stuff with them. And I do that as well. There's other sessions I play on with that are outside the Christian world, and we'll go to hockey games together and go do certain things because these people become your friends. But it's different. It's a different thing. It really is a community. I said it earlier, but I'm going to say it again. Some of these people, you're not going to find better clients to work for. And it's going to be really difficult to find clients better to work for. There's a band I work with called Highway 96. And they are the most genuine walk-the-walk Christians you can imagine. It's no hypocrisy, none of the bad stuff, but there's not even a hint of that. It's not even on their radar. They don't even think like that. They're just genuinely good people. And they've welcomed me in with like their family for meals, everything, even though they know that I'm a Hellion and grew up running around on the floor of a dump truck garage, and I cuss and drink beer and am not, necessarily the typical walk-the-walk Christian. It doesn't matter to them. They're just really, really good people. And, like for my wedding, they showed up with a full line array to run sound because they have like this amazing setup, this amazing rig. And I was like having trouble figuring out, what I'm going to do for this band and try to rig something together really quick. And they just show up with this amazing PA and then run it and work the whole wedding. I wanted them to like come there and enjoy it. And instead, his name's Marshall Pugh. You're not going to find a better person out there, a better man than Marshall Pugh. And he's sitting there running sound and at my wedding. And he's just that kind of guy. And everybody in that band's like that. I love Jess and John and all of them. But those are just a few little good things right there. And if you ever need anything, those kind of people have your back. Thick and thin, if I called them with any problem whatsoever, they'd be there. And there's something to be said for that. I'm so thankful to have these people in my life and for them to trust me with their music. I mean, what's a more sacred thing than music to me? I mean, that's kind of the be-all, end-all. And it's an honor and a privilege that they asked me to work on these records. And I'm thankful for the work, I really am, but even more for the fact that I get to spend time with these people. That's really the win there. And because of that, when I am on a session or I'm working on a song for somebody that I really think highly of, I'm going to pour every single ounce of me I can into that part. I'm going to dig as deep as I can to find something inside of me that hopefully can help somebody else on this instrument. Now, that probably sounds cheesy, but that's how I feel about it. Sometimes that might mean kicking on an overdrive pedal and you got to raise a little bit of hell in the mix. But appreciate y'all hanging out. It does mean a lot. And in the words of the great Georgian philosopher Luke Bryan, most people are good. almost forgot the important ninja spiel, right? So if you guys haven't already, please like and subscribe. And I'll put my PayPal and my Venmo down there in the description if you guys like this kind of stuff. There's a little love offering down there. Remember the Christianese. There's a new term for you if you don't know that one, Christianese. Leave a comment if I forgot something out, if you like this kind of stuff. Just let me know what you think. I do appreciate you guys spending some time here on the channel with me. If you want guitar lessons or if you want me to play guitar on your song, go ahead and hit that Nashville tracking link down in the description. That'll take you to my website. If you want a lesson, you just book your time slot right there and pay right there and go straight to my Google Calendar. Easy peasy. Or if you want me to play on your track, it'll walk you through what that process looks like and have some sound samples on there as well. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Thanks.